Hi everyone. I wasn't going to make this video because nothing much has happened apart from the usual street theatre, the directed energy weaponry and the electromagnetic frequency weaponry have they haven't died down, but they've become less pronounced. There's still people upstairs, by the way. I don't know quite what's going on with that. I thought maybe the new neighbors had already moved out because it's happened before. Like, people move in, then move out very, very quickly when they realize how deep the gang stalking is. But yeah, there are people above me right now. And I think what the main thing is that because the gang stalkers are running out of options as to how they can emotionally annihilate me, now what they're moving towards is having other people's fear and anger do the job for them. So they can't rely on mine anymore. Not at this point anyway, because in December that backfired quite badly. So now they have to try a new approach. So the new approach is this. My upstairs neighbors are spying on me, and they know that I perform manifestation work. They know I perform spell work. The craft, basically. They know I perform that. And I don't know if it's my present neighbors now or the neighbors after the Logans. Their children went around shouting at the top of their lungs about which entity that I was invoking at the time of the ritual. So this is a thing that has been used, like the main hate crime that's being committed against me now is due to my craft work, right? It's due to my spell work. So what they're literally attempting to do, I think this is hypothesis, people upstairs, what they're literally attempting to do is two things: to disrupt my spell work, and also to spy on what entities that I might be invoking during the ritual, what deities I might be invoking, what entities I might be invoking for the spell, because sometimes I invoke entities, so that they can turn around and try to weaponize that against me. And if they can't get me to feel ashamed or afraid of that, then they will use other people's fear and shame to target me. So in other words, what we're looking at here is a literal witch hunt. I wish I was making this up. What we're looking at here is a literal witch hunt to cover up for the fact that my neighbors and the people surrounding my neighbors have all been engaged in community trafficking. I'm going to say it again. There is a witch hunt being orchestrated against me to cover up for the fact that there has been community trafficking. They're not protecting the country, not surviving, not protecting children. Specifically, community trafficking in order to avoid, I don't know, whatever it is that they're being blackmailed with. So that is exactly what's happening right now. That's why everything's quiet. That's why everything's on a low level and the street theatre isn't doing very much. It's because what they want to do is they want to literally perform a witch hunt. I saw this coming a mile off. Like, you might as well call my life Operation Alphaba, because this was always the plan. The plan was to use my craft against me so that they can justify community trafficking. This is the thing though. They've been watching me 24/7. They've been watching me 24/7. They've been spying on me. They've been listening in on my ritual work. They know I'm not doing anything nefarious. They know that. So how do you think they're going to engineer and orchestrate this witch hunt? To try to humble me or make me vulnerable. How do you think they're going to do that? Top of your head. Because what the fuck, like, What the fuck would anybody being surveyed as much as me, what could I possibly get away with? I can't even go anywhere without having the past thrown in my face over minor shit. And the shit that I've done is minor in comparison to the trafficking that I've been subjected to for at least 2 decades. So, what do you think these people are going to invent? What do you think these people are going to spin? What do you think these people are going to come out with? Top of your head. How do you think they're going to spin this? Because they've already been talking about how, how I'm unsafe around children or this, that, and the third. Where do you think they're going to go with that next? In spite of the fact that they've been surveilling me 24/7. Where do you think they're going to go with that? Exactly. So in order to cover up for the fact that they've been community trafficking me on behalf of the same people who will community traffic children without a second thought, they're going to try and turn me into the danger. They're going to try and turn me into the thing that everybody needs to be worried about. When, let's be real, people are only attacking me because I'm an easy target. I'm on my own. I mean, yeah, black, sure, there's racism in this. And also, I'm a woman without kids. So, yeah, there is some political stuff going on there. But more than anything, if I was a black woman with children, if I was straight and I wasn't a practicing witch, it wouldn't be as easy to target me. My blackness is a factor, but it's not the main event here. That's not what's going on here. What's going on here is that I'm a woman who's on her own and practicing. So these people are going to come up with any type of cockamamie story to justify community trafficking me this entire time. They're doing it because it's the easier thing to do. They're not doing it because I'm a threat. They're not doing it because they think I'm dangerous. They're not doing it for those reasons. They're doing it because they're resentful that I was right the entire time. They're doing it because I am not as miserable and downtrodden as they want me to be. Because the thing is, the way gang stalkers want you is vulnerable. When I am vulnerable, I'm not just crying. When I'm vulnerable, I'm not just angry. That's not true vulnerability. That's just two emotions out of a wide spectrum. When somebody is truly vulnerable, they are being real with people. I can be happy and be vulnerable. I can be empowered and still be vulnerable, because vulnerable and powerless are not the fucking same. They're not and never will be the fucking same. Fragility and powerlessness will never be the fucking same. It doesn't matter how much you try to play it. And the way these gang stalkers work is that they're trying to make out like fragility and powerlessness belong together. Vulnerability and powerlessness belong together. They don't belong together. They never have belonged together. That's what the gang stalkers really want. They want me powerless, and they think that me being powerless is the same as me being vulnerable, because we're dealing with groups of people, not the perps, but the people who give them orders. We're dealing with groups of people who think that vulnerability is powerlessness. Because what do they do when they're vulnerable? What type of emotions do they feel when they're vulnerable? Of course, they're going to see me crying and see me angry and think that that's all vulnerability is. And of course, they're going to think that vulnerability, automatically equals that you're not powerful. Of course, they're going to think that. Why wouldn't they? But that's what they want. That's what they want of all targeted individuals, to make us vulnerable, because they believe that vulnerability equals powerlessness. And also powerlessness, let's talk about it. Because when you don't have any power, You have nothing to lose. And when you have nothing to lose, you are dangerous. When you find yourself in a position where you have nothing at all, when you're in a position where you have absolutely nothing and you don't have anything to fear left, that's when you start to build character. And when you start to build character, that actually leaves you less vulnerable than you are when you have something to lose. I should know. There are whole communities of people who are involved in my trafficking. They're running around scared right now of the consequences of what they've done. These people have got families, they've got friends, they've got things. Because they have more to lose, they are more what? Vulnerable. They're more vulnerable than me because they have stuff to lose. But then again, this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say vulnerability and powerless are not the same. The people who are more powerful than me, they're the ones who are more vulnerable than me because it's precisely because they have more power. That's the truth. Although I have to say, again, this is me vulnerable. Me vulnerable is not just me crying, and it's not just me having a negative emotion. You can have a whole gamut of emotions and still be vulnerable. You can still be vulnerable and be powerful. My fucking perps, case in point. But that's what gang stalking does. It conflates vulnerability with powerlessness, and powerlessness with malleability. The three don't always go together. Again, I should know. The amount of shit that's been done to me. You know what I was supposed to be? I was supposed to be a bottom bitch. I was hypersexualized due to sexual abuse. I was supposed to be a bottom bitch. I was supposed to be a bottom bitch for the state. It never panned out that way. Because that's what these people do to you when they render you vulnerable. Emotional destruction, rendering you unattractive. Well, this is me at the most unattractive I've ever been, right? Still not in the floor, right? Still not in the floor, right? Rendering you unattractive and rendering you weak. Weakness, again, nowhere near the bottom. I'm 40 years old. I'm still nowhere near as weak as I could be at all, right? The whole point of emotional destruction, to leave you weak and unattractive, is to make you more primed to be trafficked. And not only more primed to be trafficked cheaply. That's the point. To traffic you cheaply. What do you think all the fear and shame is for? That's an abuser's go-to, to make you afraid and ashamed of everything that you are. So they're thinking that when I was subject to that, when I was made the most unattractive that I've ever been technically, when I was made weak, and that I was hypersexualized due to sexual abuse and God knows what, they thought, oh, she'd be a useful bottom bitch. We can control her that way. We can create circumstances where she can be easily blackmailed into gang stalking. Decades later, this has not happened. If anything, me being robbed of privileges that I used to have in the past has given me more self-respect, because now I know what I'm able to survive through. Sometimes when you take away somebody's so-called privileges, this is exactly what I'm saying. Vulnerability does not equal powerlessness, and powerlessness does not equal vulnerability. Having certain privileges taken away from me has allowed me to develop a strong foundation upon which I can build whatever I want. Gang stalking, be damned. But that was the plan. The plan was to turn me into a bottom bitch that was easily trafficked. That was the plan. I only had to look at my fucking natal chart for that. You know what I mean? That's all I had to do. All I had to do was look at my natal chart for that. That was their fucking plan. Didn't work. Them taking away the privileges that I had, it gave me my dignity. It gave me my power. It didn't take it away. Because when you take away all the negative influences in your life, all they want to do is use you, you take them people away, what's left? But we're dealing with abusive people. They don't see that. They don't see that. They only see what allows them to abuse. They don't see what works in terms of efficiency. They don't see what works in terms of, you know, keeping up staff morale or any of that shit. All they care about is feeding their addiction to cruelty. That's the only thing they give a fuck about. And that's why, even though they've won the war, they've won the whole thing. World War III is here. Trafficking against the public and against women and children have become more widespread. The gang stalkers have won. They've won the bigger picture. They fucking won. Right? Even though they've won, they're still not happy. Of course they're not. Of course they're still not happy. Because a bitch like me is not walking around crying with her head held down and being like, oh, the gang stalkers hate me. They hate me. This is another thing, by the way. I don't understand why the fuck these people should think that I should care what they think of me. I don't get it. Why should I care about what a bunch of abusive, cowardly, trafficking, murderous pieces of garbage think about my existence? Why should I care? They act like their opinion is such a big fucking deal. Somebody explain that to me. They act like their opinions are such a big fucking deal, and I will never get it. Nobody cares what you think. You're fucking voids. You are voids. You are fucking thieves of joy. Like, who cares about your fucking opinion? You're there to steal happiness and steal resources and drain everyone of their life force and their dignity and their joy. That's all you're here for. Why would anybody care what you think? Beyond, you know, informing other targeted individuals exactly what you're about. Who the fuck cares? The only reason why I even care about this whole thing about why abusers conflate powerlessness, vulnerability, and powerlessness, vulnerability, and I forgot the third one. The only reason why they conflate powerlessness and vulnerability and malleability together is because that's all they fucking know of themselves. That's all they fucking know of themselves. That's all they know themselves to be. Because being powerless and malleable, when these gang stalkers are vulnerable, when these abusive people are vulnerable, is exactly who they are. Abusers are the biggest wet wipes on the fucking planet. The biggest. Literally the biggest wet wipes on the fucking planet. And that's who we've got leading us right now. So yes, there is an orchestrated effort to engage in a literal witch hunt against me. Alphabet down. There is a literal effort to engage in a witch hunt against me, so that this community and other communities across the country could justify their nationwide trafficking of me. That's what they're doing. And again, it's out of revenge. It's not to survive. That's bollocks. It's not to survive. It's not to protect anybody. It's just simply out of revenge and ego. And that is the fuck it. That is it. Because if there was anything remotely to do with survival, remotely to do with morality, these multitudes of people will be getting together and saying, okay, how can we expose these bastards? Think about how many gang stalkers there have been in my life, and I'm just one woman. I'm just one person. Think of the amount of gang stalkers there were for me. All of them could have got together and said, who hired you? Oh, a legal firm. Who hired you? The police. Who hired you? Brent Mind. Who hired you? The amount of people that could have come together and said, what the fuck is going on here? Because we've been spying on this woman and there's no sign of a crime. I mean, yeah, she's been doing some pretty embarrassing stuff. It's nothing I haven't done behind closed doors. What's going on? Instead of terrorizing me, you guys could have got together and said, hey, what the fuck's going on here? Why are we being dragged into this? Why are our children being dragged into this? You chose not to. Instead, what you're trying to do instead is you're engaging in a fucking witch hunt to cover up for the trafficking. Is that going to stop World War? Is that suddenly going to stop World War III now? Is that going to stop gas prices from going up now? Is that going to feed your children now? Clearly not. And that's where that swagger comes from. The amount that this world took away from me, took away my illusion of being a beautiful career woman with a family, only to be replaced with the swagger of a woman who never joined in global trafficking for World War III. Now, I mean, my fellow TIs, when you really peel back the layers of gang stalking and why things are happening the way they're happening, you realize how pathetic this whole thing is. But that's what they want from you. They want power. They want powerlessness from you. That's what they want from you. They want you to be powerless. They want you to be, they want you to walk around with no oars. That's what they want from you. That's what they want from you. They want you to be powerless and vulnerable and malleable. And they think that those three things are the same, and they're not. I'm malleable, meaning I adapt to my environment. That just makes me malleable. I'm not. That doesn't make me powerless or vulnerable. If anything, that added to my power. And that added to my strength, the malleability. And then we've got powerlessness in the form of emotional destruction. My powerlessness did not make me vulnerable, nor did it make me malleable. In fact, my powerlessness gave me a foundation of dignity and self-respect. And then there's the vulnerability, which is nothing more than authenticity, which didn't make me powerless or malleable, because when you're authentic, that's vulnerable. It's as cold and it's as clear cut as that. When you are vulnerable, it's not just about being without weapons or being without physical strength. It's also being without pretense. There's a reason why self-preservation, like lies and subterfuge and all those types of things, are seen as self-preservation, because when you're open, you're vulnerable. I'm also vulnerable. I'm authentic. I'm me. What you see is what you get. What you get is what you see. I'm me. Vulnerable. Didn't make me powerless. Didn't make me malleable. Again, if anything, my vulnerability gave me a foundation of self-respect that I didn't have before. I guess I am vulnerable technically, you know, due to my false diagnosis. That actually, you know what, I'm not even gonna go into it. Not even gonna go into it. I explain too much as it is. Let these idiots find out. Let these morons find out. And again, even if they did get what they want, if they got me frightened and afraid, what then? Is that going to make you feel better about the fact that you started World War III and plunged everybody into fucking chaos? Is it going to make you feel better about everything that happened during the pandemonium, which was a fucking setup? Due to the data that you collected through your gang stalking and through you terrorizing not only me, but other victims in this country? Does me being afraid and scared make you feel better about the fact that you have fucked the entire planet? Is that going to change anything? When you look at your kids starving because of everything that you participated in, when you look at your family sick and dying because of everything that you participated in, are you going to warm your home with my misery? Are you going to feed your children with my misery? And something tells me the answer is going to be no. Are you going to replenish natural resources on this planet that have been wasted with wars with my tears? If the answer to any of those questions are no, you're just petty fucking bitches. And that's all you are, and that's all you're ever going to be. And it's definitely not going to help you survive. If anything, gang stalking has made your ability to survive worse. You had to try to kill me, mate. Can't have me fucking reminding you of all your fucking failures. It's one thing to be malicious and egotistical and petty and dishonest, but to be a loser on top of that, ugh. To be responsible for the destruction of the world on top of that, ugh. Baby, I wouldn't want to be you in a million years, Perps. Not a million years. And I wouldn't want to be your bosses in a million years. Not a one. Please. Oh. I'd rather have this than be you. Please. Please. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So yes, once again, for the third time, maybe the fourth or fifth time, I repeat myself a lot in my videos. That's the plan. The plan is to to create a story around my invocations, or maybe interrupt my invocations, so that my community traffickers who have been responsible for a pandemonium or a plandemonium, World War III, cost of living going up, Brexit, austerity, the people that have been low-key responsible for all of these things want to cover up their involvement in that by witch hunting me. That's the plan. Now, this ought to be rich. So anyway, I gotta go. I'm gonna eat something because yeah, I gotta eat something now. So we will talk soon, and I will see you guys another time. Peace and blessings to my fellow TIs. Stay strong, stay blessed, and yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Take care. Bye bye, my darlings.